Hi guys, in this video I want to show you how I recovered from a big tilt. Yesterday I went down to 2200 like 1020 something like that. It was a big tilt for me since these days I'm usually around 2300 and last week I was like 2370, so it was like 150 pounds down, 50 points down. So let's start to see how I recovered. The first game was with this guy, Drunk Joker, and the game started very crazy. The game started with he went for Grand Prix attack, and I didn't want to give up my opponent structure for his bishop, so I played with queen over there. And after some moves in, okay, this was a critical moment. He pushed my knight. He was angry that I managed to have a good opponent structure at the end, and he lost his bishop for no reason. So he pushed my knight, central knight, to kick it, but I just simply took that pawn, because then if he takes with his bishop, I take his knight. But he said that no, I cannot tolerate this, and took my pawn, and no, when I take back with the rook, I defend that knight. He tried to attack and win a rook instead of win an exchange and get some material, but this is not working for him, unfortunately, and I managed to win this game easily. Even though I was up a lot of material, I was up also time a lot. Okay, let's proceed to the next game, and here he stopped just playing. The next game was again Bausch. This person started with I played e4, e5, and he played e5, and I played a strange Italian. Like I didn't. He played 4 knight defense, I believe. I didn't like that. I don't like that, so I gave up that pawn just for development. He wasn't careful, so he gave up back the pawn, and more and more, and at some point I had to give back some pawns like this. And here we arrive to an interesting position that we are playing opposite side bishop, and I'm up a pawn or two. I have 5 pawns, he has 4 pawns. I'm just a pawn up. First I try to undermine his pawn structure, his kingside pawn structure, and then attack to his central pawn. I waited for him and waited again. At this moment, when he attacks my pawn, I played bishop f8. You know why he cannot capture my a pawn? Think about it. It's a small riddle. So he didn't capture that pawn. I capture his pawn instead. Yeah, the reason was that I was pushing the other pawn and winning the bishop, so he had to move the bishop. Where else better than this place? So attacking my pawn. Yeah, he moves, but my other pawn is running right now. And in opposite side bishop, I managed to win the game. He resigned at this moment. Still he had 1 minute on the clock, but this part is easy, because if he take my pawn, I attack his bishop with check. He should get rid of check, and then I take his bishop and queen my pawn. If he don't take my pawn, again I attack to his bishop. He should move the bishop, then I push the pawn and win the bishop. Yes, Bausch lost to us. And after Bausch we face Jorginho. Mr. Jorginho just didn't play, didn't show up, and lost. And it was interesting. Then Moore was the next opponent. Moore was playing a sneaking. He tried King's Indian attack. This moment of the game was crucial point, because my knight is pinned, and what can I do? I cannot unpin it easily, and I'm under my development is not good. My kingside development is very weak, so I decided to develop, but in the cost of losing a lot of things here. Possibly, for example, if I play careless and I play like bishop e7, he takes my knight. When I take back, he can even at first take my pawn and then take my knight and so on. If he takes my pawn, it's not easy to take it back. And yeah, but I took his pawn and again another pawn, and he got something back. At the end we were even, and I started to develop my pieces. At this moment he miscalculated. He saw that if he attacked my king, then next move he plays bishop h6, so I cannot capture I don't have time to capture these 3 pawn, because I should give up an exchange. If he play bishop h6, he's threatening checkmate, yes, but I took that pawn. Then he didn't play bishop h6 because he noticed that if he play bishop h6, I play queen g6, and he's forced to exchange queens, and though on a pawn he should continue the game. So he didn't, and I started to attack to the knight. I'm saying that I want to capture the next piece, next pawn. I want to take the knight and win the pawn. He said no, but I took the pawn anyway. I'm a greedy person. No, I went back. No, I don't have my queen defending the defending g6 square. Like there's no way back to g6 square. What could I have done? He could have forked my queen actually in this moment, but he didn't. He played bishop h6 anyways. So I just forked his queen and knight. Still he could attack my not at this moment. He couldn't attack my queen anymore. He couldn't do anything. He had to give up some material. He did it in a worst possible way, because after I take this, I attack that rook, I can capture this bishop as well. The rest is the history. And he abandoned the game at this moment and left because was down a lot. Then we saw Sergey from United States. This game was tough actually. I was winning, not winning, everything. I didn't analyze with computer. You can analyze it and let me know what was the situation. This is a typical Yugoslav attack with non-typical Sicilian attack. So after some exchange, here I managed to fork his rooks. After I won the rook, he started to play with knight. I went up, and then if I was going down again, he was going to take the row. So I said, okay, I give up a exchange, but I want to keep playing. At this moment, I'm threatening to take e pawn with check and then take back b pawn, and I was equalizing now the pawns, and I was better in time. He thought quite a bit and didn't manage to find any good answer to my rook c7 move, so he lost on time actually. This was Sergey. After Sergey, I faced greatest power. This was amazing game actually. I should make a separate video for this game, because this game started with a standard, not a standard, it's d4 opening, and I'm playing arbitrarily, but typical maneuvers of pieces. But after some exchange, we arrived to a chaotic position, like this position. He is attacking to my king side very quickly, and I started to attack to his king side, and I didn't give up attacking, so I attack again. He had to take it. No, I go back with the knight and kick the queen, bring the rook in the place, reposition the knight. He was thinking he's doing very well, and he did a last mistake of the game. I took this pawn. He had still he had some chances to survive a bit, but not much. He shouldn't have taken that knight. Instead, he should take with the other knight, with the h knight. He should take my f knight. I was going back to take it. My f knight is very powerful, defending g2 square, g7 square, and no one can kick it. No other piece can kick it. No, right now he had to take it, but he didn't, and he did his last mistake. This was really the last mistake, since after this check I took his knight, and he saw that he has time to take knight and say deliver mate, but he didn't, because this is it mate. If he was taking my rook, still wasn't helpful. If he was taking this rook, wasn't helpful, because after this check and this check, we were seeing mate over there. This was a force mate. After rook captures the knight, see, I sacrificed 2 pieces. First I sacrificed this knight, then I say check and sacrifice this rook, and he had no chance at this moment. Greatest power also lost, as still earning was the next opponent, and we started a typical e4, and we switched to Sicilian Najdorf, and I started to push without castling. You don't need to castle always, yes. Here clearly his position is very shaky. I did a move that I was expecting him to take my h pawn, but this is like a bluff. I didn't have immediate attack if he was taking my h pawn with the knight, but he didn't, and he insisted to not take it and let me to win his knight. And this game ended soon, because at this moment he had to give up an exchange as well, and he was just too much down material, and still it's me who is attacking his king, not him. So he lost this game. The next game was unfortunately the draw by repetition. This is not super interesting, but in a sense it is interesting that I blundered the complete piece in this game. I blundered, as you can see, my opponent was 23,660. I blundered complete knight at this moment. Like here, he played. I had to play bishop back sooner. I didn't. Only after he played rook to e1, I played bishop f5, and he just took the bishop. I didn't like his bishop and took his bishop back, but once you take it with a queen, I cannot capture it because I'm pin. I get rid of a pin. This is the second lesson, and this is the first lesson I should give you. Okay, I'm doing a piece, right? I'm doing a complete piece without any compensation. Even he's the one who is attacking. I just blundered, okay? And in these scenarios, people are saying that you shouldn't exchange pieces, but you can. You don't go for misery. Like I could have played rook f to d8 and do not exchange queen, but it was a complete misery, right? Giving up a pawn and suffering further. No, I started to think what would be my plan. My plan was to attack to his weakest pawn, the c pawn. He could have pushed it earlier, but he didn't. So I was the one who is attacking. No, he really cannot push the c pawn. No, c pawn is in more damage, and he didn't find a good move. He played the worst possible move, a5. And at this moment, I managed to capture this pawn because a5 allowed my knight to get in. And with this check was just annoying. Like this knight was dominating. He couldn't take back with the other knight because I was taking his rook. So here, okay, there are lots of nasty. I don't want to discuss this. There are lots of nasty possible checks of knights, and I didn't want to get into them. And we played lots of. Here he has a hook mate. Hook mate is when the knight and rook together deliver mate. So he played a lot and force them back, and we ended up in draw. And the next game is the one that I lost. Unfortunately, I was up, but I lost. The game is as follows. This is the only loss I had. As again another Yugoslav Sicilian Najdorf, and I sacrifice exchange and play a little bit with my opponent, and he's trying to attack me and win some pieces. And what I can do here is to exchange the queens, and after all we arrived in this position that I'm doing a complete piece. But I'm up pawns. He eventually gave up his bishop for one of my pawns, but my other pawns are running. And in this position, you see I have 3 seconds, he has 12 seconds. I make it queen, he says check, I have 0 seconds, you can see. At this moment I have 0 seconds. I pre-move, but unfortunately my internet is not that good, so I lost this game on time. I couldn't do anything. I mean, when I played queen here with for check, it was pre-move and I couldn't do anything. It took him a lot of time to find this solution to this. And the next game was against MKWC, something not very pleasant to be a username. This is another King's Indian attack, and I gave up a pawn here, as you can see. But my idea was that at some point I will exchange them. I have double bishop pair, and at some point if I exchange my bishop with his knight, he doesn't have a good chance of winning. So he actually goes for exchanging bishop for a knight. I reduce amount of heavy pieces on the board, and now we are left with opposite side bishop. It's should be easy to row in a normal situation, but I did many blunders. He didn't find my mistakes. Like here, he just could take my pawn, right? I couldn't take back easily, but he didn't do anything. And I couldn't take back because he would take my other pawn as well with the king. So we played on, and like for example at this moment it was a checkmate attack. Like he could play bishop a6 and then rook c8 was mate, but he didn't. We escaped. At this moment again he could say check at c6 with rook and win my bishop. He didn't. I'm amazed how is it possible that he misses that many opportunities. At the end he blundered the last. He did the last mistake and I won his rook and he resigned. We both had more than 1 minute and enough many pieces to finish the game. And the last game that I won and put me back to 2300 is a dirty game that started very wild actually. This is Scandinavian. He started the Scandinavian, but I tried reverse Budapest Gambit. And after some exchanges, we arrived to a position that is very wild. In this position, I was trying to reposition my queen and bishop. If my bishop and queen, I could have swapped the position of them. Then queen b8 was made, right? So I started this repositioning, but not directly, so that he doesn't understand that I'm really repositioning, but he was alert enough and didn't let me to get engaged into it, get into the that good favorite position. So he started to counterplay, and I did a mistake. I gave this check, and then what happened at this moment was that I tried to put my rook in a safe spot. At this moment he played his queen there and exchanged my queen with his queen. Now we are equal. I was up some pawns, then I gave up, and then we played lots of useless moves. You can see our time is running, and my time was worse than him at the start, but slowly I got better in in progressing on time, especially since I found a way to promote a pawn to make it a queen. And after this queening this pawn, I had no losing chance. No, I have 1 second, he has 3 seconds. This is interesting because then I started to shuffle my queen around. I knew that my queen can shuffle around freely, but his king cannot shuffle around so freely. So he lost on time because he couldn't simply pre-move, because in some cases my queen was checking his king, and he lost on time, and we got back to 2300. So this is how I got rid of my bad tilt that happened yesterday. I hope you enjoyed.